strikes inside Syria, these ones striking at modular oil refineries used by ISIS. But earlier today, President Obama delivered a much-anticipated United Nations speech. If you missed it, here's the Cliff Notes version. Islam, good. Israel and America, not so good. ISIS terrorists, bad. Climate change, really, really bad. It was a familiar-sounding speech, think Cairo 2009, punched up with some tough-sounding lines like this.
No God condones this terror. No grievance justifies these actions. There can be no reasoning, no negotiation with this brand of evil. The only language understood by killers like this is the language of force. So the United States of America will work with a broad coalition to dismantle this network of death.
All right, we'll bring it around. KG, that sounded pretty good, that part of it.
Hey, I like that part. So finally, we are getting to him. We understand that we want a president that is forceful, that can build a coalition, that can unite other countries to help the United States in this very important national security interest. Let's see where he takes it from here, and I'm looking for the UK to step up to the plate.
Bob, that was the beginning of the speech. There wasn't much after that. We're going to get to a few more sound bites.
It sounded to me like Gutfeld wrote that part of the speech, and your idea about oil. I mean, I think this is a very smart move, is to take this oil refinery out, because if somebody said to me today, if you can't move it, you can't sell it. And you've said all along that they get what, 50 million a day or something out of that.
80,000 a day, which turns into 3 million, and just blow the.
So I think it sounds to me like it's going well, the campaign so far.
Thoughts? I'm sorry, Bob.
That's right.
Thoughts on this part of this at least this coming out tough part of the speech.
It's the toughest language that you've heard yet from President Obama on radical Islam, I think, to date. So I was very happy to see it. You get the sense, too, I mean, we haven't heard anything from Bashar Assad. And when President Obama mentioned striking in Syria, remember, Assad came out and he said, you're going to have to ask us for permission. We also got reports, Eric, that the U.S. supposedly coordinated with Iran on these airstrikes. My hunch is that we likely did, and that the Iranians are consulting the Syrians as military advisors. And I think this is a very prudent move. I mean, look, Iran is a huge enemy, and so is Bashar Assad, no doubt, no question. But I find it fascinating now, the silence coming in from the Syrian government right now, and I think that we are talking to the Iranians about bombing inside Syria.
Yeah.
Very shrewd.
Not only that, Greg, we've bombed now, President Obama's bombed 7 countries. That's far more than George Bush bombed, but this is a Nobel Peace Prize winning president.
Well, remember, when it comes to bombing, the media gives all leftists a break. I mean, Bill Ayers is a bomber. But I think, it's okay because President Obama is a reluctant warrior, and if you're a reluctant warrior, you actually can get away with more. But I think this is less about President Obama, from my perspective, and more about the UN, which is the world's largest clown college. Half of those delegates are unfit for prison. The United States really is a great party, a great cocktail party, in which we invite these people into our country, and they treat the host like crap. And we have to go there, and we have to explain what we do to them while they put cigarettes out on our couch, while they pee on the rug, while they hit on our kids, and harass our prostitutes. I'm just tired of the fact that we have to.
This is terrible.
And we have to explain. We have to explain we have to explain ourselves to them when we shouldn't. It's like giving a back rub to a hyena. It's unnecessary.
All right, so then you're happy that he didn't go to the UN and ask for approval?
Yes.
I'm glad he did.
Yeah, screw the UN. Well, and I mean that figuratively.
He kind of did ask for a unanimous approval later in the Security Council meeting, which he did. He got unanimous.
But he's already doing
approval.
it. He's
right.
He
in other words, act before the approval.
I like that.
I think you got to give him a lot of credit for what, I mean, a lot of stuff's going on that we don't know about. You mentioned Iran and Syria. I think you're exactly right. Why hasn't he said anything? He hasn't said a word. And the Iranians have every interest in making sure these guys don't move.
That's right.
So there's a lot going on here that we don't know about yet.
Plus, we don't want the Syrian army shooting at our aircraft.
No, that's true. That's true.
Right, which would make sense but the way I understood it is that he gave Reuters is reporting that he gave the Iranians the heads up.
He gave them a heads up, right.
He also told the Syrian army, and there was some sort of engagement, but it wasn't a threatening engagement with the Syrian anti-aircraft. There are a bunch of us on the right who think the president just doesn't get it, and when I say it, I mean how radical Islam's want to kill us. Soft-talking these murderous thugs won't make them like us or won't make them go away. Here's some soft talk from the president.
We have reaffirmed again and again that the United States is not and never will be at war with Islam. Islam teaches peace. And when it comes to America and Islam, there is no us and them, there is only us, because millions of Muslim Americans are part of the fabric of our country. So we reject any suggestion of a clash of civilizations.
So, Ange, he came out tough, and then it started into this almost like I don't know, soft-talking, apologizing.
That was like the Cairo speech, where he said, and you have a history of wonderful tapestries and great pottery.
Right.
So will you stop killing us? I did think that he didn't need that. If I were his speechwriter, I would have went through with a red pen, and I would have X'd out all of those comments, and I would have edited the one where he said it's not us against them. It really is.
It is
us against them. And I don't say that meaning against the faith of Islam, but it really has to be the United States and everybody else who joins us against the radicals.
Terror.
He has to be more clear. And he didn't. He came out and he said there is no war against terror. Again.
Right. No war against terror. He didn't say radical Islam again. He never said jihad during the speech.
Because he's not comfortable with this language and this rhetoric. At his core, this is not who he is. He cannot relate to it. He's not comfortable in his own skin being this guy, the commander-in-chief. It is abhorrent to him. So they have to struggle to get him to step up and say a few of these things. But the problem is the world is listening. And when you don't use the right terms and you don't set the right tone, we all suffer.
Well, there's nothing. We're not at war against Islam. Is the world that could not be against that idea? The other thing is he's got to say some of these things because he's got these Arab countries working with us. And so what he's trying to do is give them a treat.
Right. There is a way to coalition build.
Yeah. This is what I mean. That's the point. It's like he's trying to be nice because he's like, we got these guys, so maybe I'll say some nice things about it. But also, he is a person that has been overly concerned with backlash more than I think he's always been worried. He's about Islamophobia. He's Islamophobic. So he thinks that at some point we're all going to be really mean at Muslims, and he's trying to say we shouldn't do that. But it's the allies. He's got these 5 countries. This is what you got to do. He had to do it.
I mean, the Qataris have a history of funding radical Islamic jihad.
They're shaky.
The Saudis fund Wahhabism. So I don't understand all this flowery, complimentary language. And if you look back to the Cairo speech, he actually blames the West, President Obama, for basically being oppressive and even protagonistic and antagonistic against the Islamic faith for them retaliating, which I think is ludicrous.
I think you got to cut him a little bit of slack here because he does have Arab partners in this coalition, and he's got to give them something. And the idea of saying simply we're not at war with Islam is the right thing to say. There's a billion.
What would be so bad to do something like say we're at war with Islam? Do you think the Saudis are going to say, "Oh, you said that. Now we're done. We're out of here"?
Well, we would never say we're at war with Islam. I mean, why would we? Because we're not.
But you speak to every one of these generals. They say if you can't recognize the enemy, if you can't call it what it is, then you never have a chance of beating it.
Well, you're not suggesting Islam is the enemy, are you?
Radical Islam.
Okay.
He wouldn't say that either.
Well, okay.
Why, you don't disagree with that, do you?
He won't even say war on terror.
But that's the point. Get comfortable with it. Come on.
Here's something, though, we heard, and it's very, very disturbing. The president praised a man named Abdullah bin Baya. Listen.
Look at the new forum for promoting peace in Muslim societies. Sheikh bin Baya described its purpose. We must declare war on war so the outcome will be peace upon peace.
So close, war on war. Anyway, we did a little digging into the background of Sheikh Abdullah bin Baya. This is the same radical Muslim who declared a fatwa in 2004 condoning violence against American troops in Iraq. He also served as the vice president of a Muslim scholars group founded by a Muslim Brotherhood leader who has called for the death of Jews and Americans. Bob, I got to go to you there first. Can you imagine bringing up this man, this sheikh, this radical Muslim sheikh's name in a speech when this is all?
I think it's probably would not. It would have been better off not naming him in this thing. But I think you got to keep in mind that Obama was raised among Muslims, and that I think he really does not want to use the word of war on terror because he is decided he was raised in that community.
But that's the reason why this is happening is it has to do with the Islamic factions in which a new, more extreme version comes out every 6 months. It's like the iPhone. And each iteration makes the previous extremist group look moderate. So this guy was extreme in 2004. Now he's a bunny rabbit. I mean, by this pace, in 2 years, ISIS will be viewed as gentle vegans known for their poetry, because that's how the extremism moves.
Yeah, but come on. Isn't there anybody with a little bit of spare time to do a Google search and like figure out who this guy is, where the president says it to the entire
he had him to the
world?
White House, so it's not that they.
No, and he's it's no secret that he's entertained this guy.
There it is, Bob.
And he caught a lot of crap for entertaining this guy.
Exactly. He's had him to the White House.
Right.
He's had the Muslim Brotherhood to the White House.
Though.
I mean, he makes questionable decisions, but it goes back to what you said. It's who he is. He has a deep sensitivity towards Islam, and it makes it hard for him. He's hamstrung when he's trying to say.
Don't say ham.
I know. I shouldn't have said that.
Terrible.
I wasn't going to say pork strong.
Can I get this in here? Because this was a kind of a bizarre moment. The president seemed to be, I don't know, apologizing for the Ferguson shooting. Some people say maybe he was comparing it to ISIS beheadings. Listen to this.
America's critics will be quick to point out that at times we too have failed to live up to our ideals, that America has plenty of problems within its own borders. This is true. The world also took notice of the small American city of Ferguson, Missouri. So yes, we have our own racial and ethnic tensions, but we welcome the scrutiny of the world.
Scrutiny. Hey, Greg, it's kind of like that "it's not you, it's me" moment.
It's just like, man, it makes me want to throw up. That's all I can say. I mean, the fact is, you cannot compare the flaws in America to what is going on in this world. And Ferguson is an unfortunate, tragic experience, and we still don't know what's going to happen, but that's why there's an investigation. But to bring that up, basically what he's saying is, the problem with this is he's saying that Ferguson somehow represents America. Terrible. He pulled that out. That's the problem. That's the problem with this president. He really does see everything through the prism of race.
It's a self-deprecating flaw. Hey, look, we have this flaw here, too. We're not exceptional. We heard that in Cairo in 2009.
It's taking the U.S. from here and doing this, right?
But why
moral equivalency, right? We're just as exceptional as the Greeks. We're just as exceptional. We're all the same. Let's spread the greatness around.
You know, he maybe should not have brought up Ferguson, but the fact of the matter is, we have to accept the fact that we have had some pretty tragic flaws.
But why the UN stage?
That is not the place or the speech for it. By the way, as an attorney, he should know better, Bob, because the investigation has not been concluded yet.
I don't know why he brought up Ferguson, but
I
I think it makes some sense for the United States on occasion
it's a bad
to say
example,
we've made
Bob.
some mistakes.
That was a bad example.
We are the only great thing about this planet.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the United States, this place wouldn't exist.
Who else gives all the humanitarian aid? We're the first one to come to the aid of any country, any people that need it. And my point is, I'm tired of him always taking a knee in situations that he doesn't need to. Quit apologizing for America. We're kind of awesome.
We'll just leave it right there on that note. Up next, we're learning more about the Islamic terror group Khorasan and how much of a threat it really is to the United States. We'll have more of that when we come back.